Agenda is ordinance 1541, which is false alarms, second reading, public hearing, and adoption. Ms. Meyer, please introduce.
An ordinance of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, creating Chapter 18, Article 3 through 7 of the city's Code of Ordinances related to false alarms, providing for registration of intrusion alarm systems and commercial fire alarm systems, providing for penalties and enforcement of false alarms, providing for registration and regulation of alarm installation and monitoring companies, providing for repeat false fire alarm properties to be placed on fire watch, authorizing codification, repealing ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Item number 1 is available for public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on item number 1? Yes,
Hello.
sir. Good evening.
Good to see you. Frank Sewell. Because it wasn't on the calendar, got the agenda a little late, so I didn't get to read through all this, but some of the stuff I looked at, and I was talking to somebody that used to be a manager at Lake Town Wharf, talking about these false alarms. A couple of questions. They said about 50 times a year they're getting false fire alarms from fog. And just wondering, who's going to determine what's a false alarm, what's not? If somebody breaks into a business and whatnot, and nothing is stolen, is that a false alarm? If an alarm company comes, so I think it needs to be defined what a false alarm is, for one thing, and the fines. I know that's a whole separate issue, but maybe I can do them all at once instead of coming back up here. If that's
Let's do
fine.
the fines at the fine time, please.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
And understand everybody has to have a $40 fee now that has an alarm company with the city. I thought, if I read that correctly, that was kind of interesting, I thought. But yeah, I think it really needs to be defined what a false alarm is. And also, if I read it correctly, and talking to some people at the county, I'm afraid the county might also mirror this ordinance in some form. And if I also read part of the agenda correctly, it's talking about life alert, people that have life alert, because I have a 95-year-old grandmother of a wife that lives, and if she gets scared and we're not home, she'll press, and if she can't reach us on a phone right away, she'll press that button. And I've had EMS come out a few times, and everything was fine. But are people like that within the city going to be fine if they have a life alert and nobody's taken to the hospital or anything like that? So that's some of my questions, and I'll come back for the fines. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else who'd like to make public comment on item number 1 this evening? Seeing no more, we'll close that portion of the meeting. Mr. O'Rourke, anything you'd like to add to this?
This is a fairly uniform problem across the country, and this is a common remedy, is to require alarm companies to register and to be put on notice that they're responsible for their alarm systems, whether it be fire or an intrusion alarm for police matters. The city currently is experiencing over 2,200 false police and fire alarms a year. That's not only an inherent risk for our first responders to respond to those alarms, but also it is taking away valuable resources in true emergency situations. So to address this, this alarm ordinance is very consistent with other ordinances around the country that have proven very effective. In many jurisdictions, they've reduced false fire and police alarms by 90%. By simply being more judicious about the registration, the maintenance of these systems, verification, calling. So we think to that end, this will both keep the general public safer and reduce unnecessary false alarms in our community.
Understand. Questions or comments from the board?
Can we talk about the penalties a little bit? Sure. Amy, Cole?
That's the next. That's item 2.
Okay.
It's okay.
Well, I was going to say I could address probably the life alert. I don't know if I should or we want to get Chief Jordan or Cole. I was going to say if it's a manual activation, it's not a false alarm.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So, and this ordinance is designed to stop habitual false alarms, and that's why it doesn't kick in immediately with fines and things of that nature. It has to be a reoccurring issue of the same caliber. Does that make sense? So if you have, say you have a smoke detector that's being set off by fog, Well, that smoke detector is going to have to keep being set off by fog, and now it's habitual, and now something has to be done with it. Does that make sense? Okay. I hope I explained that right.
You did.
Or clearly enough. But, so it's not, no one's going to get hit the first time an alarm goes off. And it's not habitual if the smoke detector goes off due to fog and then a pull station goes off. Those are two separate devices and two separate issues. But what that does is it gets it on the map that it has to be replaced or fixed so that that life safety device or that security device is in operable condition and to protect those people that are there. So I hope that cleared it up.
It does. And again, I think the thing that's very important to remember is every false alarm is serious. When the chiefs are going out and their teams are going out, they don't know if it's a false alarm or not. So they go with the utmost urgency to every call. And 2,200 times this year, they got there for nothing. And they put themselves in danger and everyone else that they passed along the way in danger and took away from what they were working on at the time. Because, again, every call is important and you have to use the same urgency with it. So I'm glad to see the city moving forward with this. I think it's a very good safety protocol. Again, it mimics a lot of other communities. And if we can reduce one false alarm, that's worth it for me.
And also there was a statement about the security. If someone breaks into an establishment and there's signs of entry, then that's not a false alarm. That's just that the action did take place. So.
Correct. Yep. Any other discussion?
All right. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Fasoni, please call the roll.
Councilman Casto.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Chester.
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor McConnell.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman German.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Sheldon.
Yes, ma'am. Item number 2 this evening is Resolution 20.